Time will tell as we finally do get underway with Consulate. Will be, of course, telling off the picks and the bans. As always, the banning phase dictates the way that the match is played out and what kind of operators are going to be brought and what kind of operators will be banned out. In Wind and Raid, they're not going to go for the very more common Lion pick. Instead, Glaz will be Con, and I'm kind of guessing just the way that was insta-locked in, more than likely Vex, they will ban the Lion away, and yes, he will be gone, so no Lions for either teams. Thank God. Thank God for that.
I think everybody's just grateful that Lion's out of the mix when he gets banned. He's not the sort of operator that you even want to take the advantage of having him available for your attack, because you certainly don't want to then play against him. Valkyrie coming out there, absolutely not too much of a surprise. That's an operator that we've discussed quite heavily over the last match as well. Just that value of information. But again, seeing that mirror ban coming out demo twice in one night on Consulate. As you said, plenty of use for mirror down on the garage site. But beyond that, not really seeing too much. No, there's nothing. Upstairs really isn't something that you have to be concerned about. If, you know, mirror windows on the upstairs are very easy to get rid of. Simply, if you want to put a mirror window inside of connector, you repel connector window and shoot the mirror window, or you go below and block that. If one of them is inside of that break room facing towards admin, you go onto that copy room window and you shoot the mirror window from there. So really the mirror windows are very simple to get rid of with a very coordinated, even simple teams can get rid of mirror windows. It's not that difficult. Just bring Habana as well, and there you go, that's Mira gone. Twitch if you want to be a little bit more spicy with yourself, but really Mira doesn't do a whole lot, and then you're leaving operators up like Echo, like Maestro, like Pulse as well, as the three operators I say are very strong in this map. All three of them will be chosen. Yeah, really surprised to see Mirror going instead of an Echo at least there. Would have been a far more substantial ban, like you say. And it's not even just about getting rid of those, you know, it's not even about just getting rid of the mirrors and dropping them. It's the impact that that has on your overall defence. Not only have you lost that utility, you've, in most cases, opened up a line of sight directly into objectives, generally speaking, depending on the placement. So when you're talking about an attacking team that will probably have at least 2 or 3 ACOGs, if not more, that becomes extremely dangerous on a site like Consulate, whereby long lines of sight can be opened up quite easily. So upstairs, we are kind of expecting, I would say, a bit of a roam game coming out from Wind and Rain. They have the pulse, so definitely use and abuse that factor with the cardiac scanner. A good place, which I think is a very strong position for Pulse, is right down into those archives. You can sit right down in there, you're out of the way from any potential attacker wanting to push that, and you gain a lot of that early intel. You'll be able to see straight away if it's going to be an admin push. You then relay that information to your team, and then your team can then do the appropriate preparation to see if it will, you know, get the angles held for that particular admin push. And look at it, Vex, they're going to start working their way in the window, and really that early intel that they did not have is going to really hurt them, as nobody's going to be there ready to try and hold it. Sloth, somehow he manages to get a kill onto Jesus. I believe that was a kill on that balcony, so it does get the IQ off the board, so Echo drones will be here to stay, not for long. Doki, using the LMG, eliminates one of the yokai drones. So Vex, they have certified themselves inside of admin. They've lost a player, but equally a bit of utility off the board for Wind and Rain. Yeah, great start. As you say, I would like to have seen that pulse down in archives as well. They'd have a lot more information at this stage. But we've got Doki just working his way in from the copy room. Doki is a player we've seen come out of the gates very, very quickly in the last few weeks. I think in the first 2 weeks, he went and got at least a 3K in the first round, both matches. So definitely a player not surprised to come and get the kills. Sloth getting his second there onto Feral though. Using that ACOG of Doc again, as I've said, they've opened up those long lines of sight that are capable on Consulate. He's also using his stim pistol just to help out, and that's now a 3K onto Doki. We couldn't possibly see, dare I say it, a first round ace without Doc even hardly moving his feet here, could we? He's just waiting for them to filter through the copy room towards that long desk, and then he's just picking them off as they come through with the ACOG. He's now moving himself in behind that A-bomb. He's possibly going to look for a head glitch, see if there's anybody out on the balcony, but there's not. Jackal of Dealit just struggling there to get any real view into sight. Sloth definitely on a rampage with the Doc. A minute to go. Vex, they have just gotten carried away. That's simply it. They have played very stupidly. They have just tried it to just, yeah, let's push in, try and get kills. But no, if you don't have crossfires established, you don't use utility,
then really you start to fall off. You lose just as simple the crossfires. You know, a very simple crossfire inside of connector, looking at a door. I'm surprised that Vex weren't ready for that, and they're just trying to play as fast as they can, but really sometimes they need to look back, they need to slow it down and get on the drones and really figure out where these players will be. Finally, Sloth does get droned out, and a smoke grenade as well will be tossed in towards that connector door. Tags coming in from the Echo drones and Maestro. Cameras alike. Sloth trying to push in back and forth. Theo gets one onto Zach, down to Delia, 1 versus 5, and Sloth, he hunted for his 4K, but he will be shut down before he manages to pull that off. And Pat, he sees the Echo drone calls coming in. Speed somehow gets down, and Pat, very simple for him to swing around and eliminate Dearly.
I'm wondering there if we've got a little bit of a situation where Vex have possibly underestimated Wind and Rain and thought that they could just run in and basically run over them and just take the, you know, the superior gun skill and take the fight to them. But Wind and Rain doing exactly what they needed to there, just shoring things up. One thing that we've seen from Wind and Rain so far, I feel, is that where the plan goes well, when things work as they should in Wind and Rain's plan, they do very well. It's when they lose a couple of men, they have to rotate, they have to change things around, they have to switch things up. That adaptation, I don't think they then cope as well with the rest of the round. So the fact that Sloth managed to pick a 3K up from Connector massively helped them in that round, because it just allowed everybody else to stay in their role, stay in their positions, and do what they had already planned. And as we see, 1-0.
So already, Vex, just the cockiness getting away from them at this stage. They're just trying to play with their fingertips rather than their actual brain in this scenario. So Cafeteria and Garage is the second pick bomb site that the players of Wind and Rain will opt for, and certainly with operators there like the Maestro and Echo, it does make things a lot easier. No smoke on the side of Wind and Rain, which is always a bit of a worry for me, but instead they will change that for a much more aggressive room game lineup. As Vigil, he'll be brought to the table. We've already seen a bit of a glimpse of the Vigil from Prox previously. Really, Vigil on a very heavy room match can really do a lot of damage, but looking at Vex, they do have a bit of a counter in the form of Dearly if he does manage to find a footprint of that Vigil with the Inox. And yeah, certainly that may be a bit of a cause for caution that Sloth has to play around. Possibly might get killed from that as well. So it's up to Vex to see where they want to push. Do they want to go for the very simple admin take, which looking at their drones kind of tells me that, yeah, they're going to take from admin, sweep the roamers, and then simply walking into the bomb site.
This is where I think Wind and Rain are possibly going to run into some problems. When they're up on top floor, they've got all 5, you know, maybe 4 at a push if you've got 1 Pulse playing downstairs, who are defending on site. Garage is a very different site. Ooh, we've got Vex absolutely storming into site. Melon's getting the first kill onto Feral with a headshot though, so that's just going to slow things down. Docky does get the knife from behind onto Theo. How's about that on yellow stairs? So that's going to bring us to 4 versus 4 at this stage. 4 versus 3 as Dealey gets the kill onto Pat. Speeds gets one of his own back onto Jesus. Docket with another kill. That's his second, coming in onto Melons with a great headshot, leaving just Maestro and Sloth on the Vigil with it all to do now. We're in a 2 versus 3 situation. They've got the diffuser down. That's been absolutely rushed in. That was down within the first 20-30 seconds of the round. And, oh, Speeds will get the view through, but he doesn't get the kill. He gets down. Docky getting the kill onto Speeds. Zach comes in with a kill onto Sloth to clean things up, and Vexed's aggressive style certainly paid dividends in that round.
What just happened? That was completely absurd by Vex. They just seen, you know what? How about we rush? And they did just that. They got onto the bomb site. The plant was down. They didn't even use any utility whatsoever. The players of Wind and Rain still doing midway through their setup. And wow, they took full advantage of that. And what a way to finish out a round for Vex. And they do bounce back with a very, very, if not, I believe, the quickest round we've had off the Premiership. And of course, who else would it be than Vex to do so? Still, not over yet. Still plenty of rounds to play for either of these teams. And once again, this downstairs will be chosen, and Melons, he will switch out the Maestro this time, and it will be the smoke being brought to the table. And I'm sure, I hope that they'll be ready for it this time, but I don't even think Vex would try and attempt it.
Surely they're going to have a gun pointing towards the rear of the site after that one. The thing is, they just left Kitchen pretty much undefended, and it just allowed Vex to drop the hatch, move straight in, and it's almost a bit, you know, it's almost a rank strategy to just, you know, drop the hatch, fly in and get a defuse down, you know, where you're relying on a team that's maybe not communicating too well amongst each other. So I think Wind and Rain just caught with their pants down a little bit there, but I'm sure that they'll be avoiding that this time. You can see the hatches being reinforced there by Melons, and that smoke utility no doubt going to be used downstairs to try and deny any entrance through that triple wall, which I'm sure is probably where Vex are going to look more to focus this time. But I think they're still going to be sending a few through admin sort of Visa area to try and clear the roamers out. We've still got Sloth on the Vigil, potentially we've got the Jaeger will be on the roam as well, so that's something that they need to pay attention to. But my question for this round is Doki-san now. Picked himself up a good couple of kills on that last round. We've already seen his fragging potential so far in the Premiership, and he's got himself a melee kill as well, so I'm sure his confidence is going to be up. Is it his time to start going off?
So already inside of Admin, trying to hunt as much as he can. Of course, drones are always going to be assisting them inside of that kind of manhunt at the moment for Theo and Sloth. And you can see both of them have fell back in towards that kind of console office and yellow stairs area, giving up Meeting, which is a bit of a surprising one. A lot of rumors want to try and hold Meeting as much as they can, and Sloth being droned out in a very awkward position. Sure, he still has Theo right beside him in yellow to try and lock down that main corridor, but the angle will not be held. But Feral, he will be there on the Habana. Excellent bit of counter picking there and really knowing where they're going to be coming from. They have the aggressive free speed. You know, typically we don't even see Habana being brought on Consulate a lot of the time. So having that more aggressive free speed with a great gun, you know, Type 89 is definitely not one to turn your nose up into. Pat does return a kill off his own onto Doki, so Ash does fall, so free speed off the board. Trying to play aggressive on the yellow, but he still has to be cautious of that potential wall getting opened up right beside him, and he will not be there for the bandit trick. Didn't hear the thermite charge being planted, and that wall will be opened for the players of VEXED.
We could just see Echo rapidly redeploying those Yokais there, moving them into different positions. Zac will take the time to take that default cam out. Again, just denying the defenders that information. If he just held his angle a little longer there, I'm sure he would have got a kill, as I think it was possibly Pat on the bandit move back in towards Pipes, but Feral will pick him up anyway. So that's Feral's second of the round on the Hibana, working from hatch now, and that just is a great example of how VEXED have got themselves into a position where they're setting up crossfires. So Zac, you know, misses the opportunity for the shots on Pat from the garage door, but it doesn't matter because Feral has got the angle from the hatch and he just picks him up as he moves across in front of him. So Speed's now trying to keep himself just under cover near the pipes there. He needs to keep himself alive at all costs now into this late round so that he can do exactly this, and that is deny that plant. It seems like it was just baited a little bit from Zac there, so they know that they've got the Echo drones watching. Speeds is going to just try and hold some angles now to prevent that yellow stairs push, and he will put shots and he will get down and kill dearly, so that's a good start. Melons gets the kill onto Zac, and we also see Feral drop by Speeds on the drop, and all of a sudden this round has completely changed around. 2 seconds to go. Jesus has no choice but to go for the plant. Melons steps up, does what's needed, and gets the final kill. How about that for a turnaround from Wind and Rain there, Demo?
Yeah, Wind and Rain, they had the angles held, just more and more and more sloppiness from VEXED. The drones are not sent in. The utility just isn't being used. Sure, they're bringing the IQ, but really, you're not using that gadget as effectively as you could. Why not try and get IQ up in towards that piano area, use that scanner, try and shoot the yokai drones through the ceiling. A lot of things that VEXED really have to look at. They are playing very recklessly, but you know, VEXED, they are the team out of all 8 of these teams inside the Premiership would be the ones that rely a lot more on their gun skill rather than their actual strat work.
Yeah, and that's certainly, you know, coming to bear there in that round. They got themselves a couple of good angles, and I thought they were in a good position to start making moves. But as you say, I think they just failed in a couple of areas. The example you give is absolutely perfect. IQ dealing with the yokai. I think that's the reason that they had to push down yellow stairs to try and deal with the yokai that had already fired off a charge at thermite whilst Zac tried to plant. Without having to do that, they could probably have positioned a player then outside of triple door to watch watch the angles towards rear of white fan, prevent any attack on the planter, and I think you make that stick then instead.
So it will be an upstairs defense for Wind and Rain, the first bomb site that they did win in. How will Vex go ahead and change this up? More than likely, they're kind of expecting similar stuff from Vex. They're probably just going to go from admin area, take control of that. Hopefully this time they'll be a little bit more cautious of this utility that Wind and Rain values so heavily. You know, still Maestro, Pulse, and Echo all being brought to the table, as well as Doc still in and about the mix. So we'll see if Sloth can retain that MP5 godness that he was doing in the first round, and or we could say Doc. That's another good one as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I don't think it's going to be any surprise to see Sloth on that Doc again, and it would be even less of a surprise to see him in connector again now. I'd like to see maybe Vexed, you know, preempting that, and as we move across and pan, we can see that's exactly where he is. Is Feral going to move across and try and get a peek onto that connector window? I think just putting a player up on there potentially and just putting a bit of fire in there, you know, maybe an asphyxiating bolt from Capitao, or maybe just any gun in general, just get up there, put some fire through and move Sloth away. Do not allow him to be comfortable. As I've said, we know from Wind and Rain's previous matches that when their plan is disrupted, they are not at their strongest. So I'd like to see Vexed get up there and just move Sloth away so that the rest of the team can start maybe working in from admin and just doing a little bit more work than they managed to last time, because it was pretty much Sloth with a 3k that held them off from there. And I think that's what we're going to see potentially from Feral now. He's going to have preempted that, although with the barricade in place he's not going to be able to see, and it looks like we've got a bit of a duel here. They both know each other's there, but it will be Feral that comes out on top with the headshot, and that is exactly what Vex needed, just to get things moving, get Sloth out of there. And now I'm sure the pressure is going to start mounting from admin. We can see we've got 3 players inside copy there, although Docky is just going to vault out and get downstairs to start moving around, possibly to push from yellow or the single windows.
A lot of window work could be in the mix for the players of Vex. Certainly Consulate, a very heavy window matchup. Theo does lose that gunfight against Doki. I thought that would have went in favour of the Jaeger, but no. Ash comes out on top, and this is where this utility will be expended by the players of Vex. Jesus eliminates speed since a potential rotate tried to come in, and that will be Pat, who does manage to land the down onto Doki and secures the kill with it. But still in a very rough position. 4 versus 2. Melons does stop the plant. Diffuser does not go down, but tries to creep on in towards the long corridor. Daly will be there to give the cover. Pat from below uses his nitro cell and manages to finish off Zach. But in a very rough position, 1 versus 3. Feral should try and initiate the plant momentarily. Will do just that. In towards the bay and will actually get shot from below from Pat. Didn't even use his cardiac, just went for the predicted shot. I think an Echo Drone or Maestro camera may be spotting out the capo, but certainly more tags coming in. This is just a tag cluster, that's all this is. Pat trying his best. Nobody from Vex are even going to try and attempt to challenge him. Pat, still more shots, but they will miss, and somehow the plant does get planted within the midst of all of that. So 1 versus 3 has to be the retake coming in from Pat, but really at this stage any kill he gets will be more of an impactless kill, as he just doesn't manage to have, I would say, the time nor utility to really pull off this clutch. As soon as he pushes up, he's going to get shot right in the back by Feral. And really from that then Vex, they do manage to clutch out the round, and round number 4 will be in their favour.
Yeah, fantastic adaptation from Vex there, and I think that goes to speak for the new format, or it's not even really that new anymore, but this competitive format of 5 attack and then 5 defensive rounds, and that's just allowed Vex to just iterate on what's gone before. They saw exactly what Wind and Rain did successfully in that first round, and again that comes back to what I've said about Wind and Rain possibly not adapting and not changing very well, tending to stick to the same plan, and that's exactly what they've tried to do there, except this time Feral has just switched on the old brain, got himself onto connector window, got himself the kill onto Sloth, and then it all just fell into place from there, leaving Pat on the middle floor in a position nobody wants to be in, 1 versus 3, and having to try and just defend things vertically. Although, I mean, to be fair, he actually did a really good job of it. He stopped the plant going down for a good 20 seconds or so with the repeated pinging that we saw. It must have been, I presume, an Echo drone that they had up there, or possibly a Maestro cam, that was just allowing them to get the pings, and he just kept hammering through the floor with that UMP. He didn't manage to to pick himself up any kills, but did manage to disrupt the plant for quite a while. So great plays from Pat, but ultimately just not enough as he moves upstairs and will get taken out from the window. I think, to be honest, at that point there were 3 left, so you've got yellow stairs, round stairs, and you've got the Visa stairs. So one way or another, you can have them all covered pretty easily, and Vexed did exactly that.
Now this is where things get scary. If I'm Wind and Rain, I'm sitting here thinking, we are not a good team on attack. We have done this in Premiership where our defense have been significantly better than our attacks. Wind and Rain and their attacks are just too slow. For the level of play that you need to be at, they take too far slow of that prep. This is still an Xbox team, you know, players there who did play in last season, they still hold some of that Xbox mentality that they need to get rid of soon, or else they will have not even a chance of attempting to fight for a playoff spot. They just will finish bottom 2. That's probably if what Wind and Rain will end up to if they don't change up their strategies. I know that they have been working on things, that's why they've brought in Sloth in place of Gig to try and give them that more of a potential big firepower leading into these attacking rounds that they will have to try and take place into. But they really need to have that upper edge. They need this defensive win, because if they go 3-2 up, it does give them a more of a fighting chance rather than a 3-2 in favour of Vex. And you know what Vex are like on the defense, so aggressive, you really cannot play around it. And a map like Consulate, which had so many runouts, that's always going to be scary if you're Wind and Rain and, you know, you do lackluster on the attacks very heavily.
I think, as you say, it's a time factor for Wind and Rain. You know, potentially that is one of the big things that they don't have in the Premiership. It's a 7-week season, and they can only go so far to adapt new strategies to each team that they play in. And hopefully, over time, you know, if they come back in future seasons, depending what happens, you know, by the end of this one, if they do come back and they've just had a bit more time as a team, potentially, nearly having a team kill there as Zack picks up plenty of damage onto Doki-san, but Doki just carries his merry way up the stairs. Dealy getting the first kill there, taking the Jaeger off the board, so those ADSs will already be out there. His job largely done, but it's just that loss of firepower that could hurt Wind and Rain on a site that they have struggled so far to defend. And I think Doki's going to just see the Maestro there, but he doesn't manage to get the kill through onto him. But it looks like Zack will get one of his own onto Pat, so that takes the pulse off. Feral finishing speeds off on the Maestro, and this is going in one direction very quickly. Sloth, however, moving in and putting the brakes on, getting the kill onto Dealy. Melon coming in with the kill onto Doki, so that's one of the major fraggers off the board as well. Leaves us in a 2 versus 3, but Melons and Sloth both down on 50 HP. Feral cemented on that window with Capitao, potentially still with some utility to help him get this plant down in the later round. But as it stands, Wind and Rain just going to be holding those angles, as we've seen them do repeatedly on this defence, really. Not too much of sort of roam or adjustment, but it is certainly doing the job for them. Sloth getting the kill onto Zack, and that leaves us with Sledge and Feral remaining, and they're going to have to start thinking about how they approach this now. 45 seconds remaining. They've got 2 hard angles being held, although shots do come into Sloth, and the attack just starts moving, but shots will come in onto Feral's leg there. Feral will return with one of his own onto the head of Melons, and Jesus just gets in out of bathroom and finishes things off with the kill onto Sloth. Steady, patient play from Vex there. Didn't panic when they lost a few players, and took their opportunity when it was there. Very polished.
I'm quite sad, Ace. Do you know why I'm quite sad?
Why are you sad, then?
Because Doki didn't die from that TK. I really wish that happened, because that would have been a top 5 player of the week.
Oh, it could
I would have made sure that would have been one.
Definitely could have gone in at number 1.
Just because it's Doki?
Yeah, I think it was just, if operators could look panicked on the face, I think Zack would have had an expression of sheer shock of that one.
Oh, seems to be that we are going to go to a quick rehost momentarily. So as it stands, it will be leading into the half-time switch where Vex, they will have that advantage leading into their next defensive rounds, and certainly looking at the way that Vex have played throughout this entire season with their defensive plays, you're kind of expecting them to perform a lot better. You know, Doki, he has his dock available for himself, and we've seen really what he can do with that dock throughout some of the earlier weeks as well. And like we said, Wind and Rain, just their attacks have looked not very strong this entire season. But maybe this is a week where they've changed things.
I mean, who knows? We saw a bit of improvement from Wind and Rain last week against Team Secret, although, you know, yeah, Team Secret weren't necessarily at the level we'd expect to, you know, that we've come to be so familiar with. But Wind and Rain have seemed to be learning week on week. They are progressing, maybe not quick enough, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do on the attack here, because again, they're playing a very, very aggressive team in Vexed. As you've already said, potential run-outs, you know, absolutely crazy full on Consulate. So it's, I think, all going to come down more to Vexed than it is to Wind and Rain.
So, looking at it, Vex, they have this lead. They have a bit more of a safety net leading into these next couple of rounds. So they do have, I would say, you know, a couple of rounds to really expand themselves, try something new. We still have yet to see that split bomb site from Consulate being shown. We could see it, we could not, more than likely. Not really expecting that to be a big factor of it. More than likely just upstairs, downstairs, what we're kind of used to. Mid-floor, if a team has to go to that, which we haven't seen Wind and Rain have to go for that mid-floor. They've only just chosen the 2 bomb sites, which sometimes I get fearful whenever teams can only go for 2 bomb sites. You need to adapt and possibly change things up if things aren't going right. I
think that final defensive round is a perfect example of that there, Demo. They've lost the upstairs, you know, reasonably convincingly after the first round where they won it. They've come back and they didn't really show me anything majorly different on there from the strategy that they used when Vexed beat them in, I think it was round 4, which was the second attempt at console. So I maybe would have liked to have seen them just go down to lobby, even archives, you know, who knows, let's go crazy. But maybe just go down to lobby, mix things up and just see if, you know, if they've got 1 strat per site, they haven't seen the lobby strat, so get down to lobby and see what that brings.
Yeah, of course, plenty of things you can work with lobby. A lot of the upstairs control that you really need to hold as a defending side. And the way that really we've seen Vexed attack, very sloppy, I have to admit. But really, it's just the way that Vexed play. Vexed play completely out of the books. It's something that you cannot counter-strat against because they are so random at what they do. You look at, if you go back and you look at every single VOD that Vexed have done, a completely different attack every single round. And they go from all different areas. It's just the way Vex play. They want to keep it fresh, they want to keep it new, and we definitely did see some of that with that quick rush that we did have that one round, which that was a big one, I would say.
I mean, it's always a gamble. It's interesting that we actually saw the same thing in the first match as well. You know, Unnamed essentially losing the win, partially based on that. They rushed in through double door, tried to get a quick plant off in the first 15 seconds, and for them it didn't work, but I think they were just playing a slightly more organised and prepared M&M rather than Wind and Rain, who just didn't react to that at all and didn't realise that they'd left the back door wide open until it was far too late, and, you know, the bear was in, he was in the sweetie cupboard, the diffuser was down, and it was job done.
Yeah, they just stole the round, basically. That's what it was, a complete steal. Still waiting until we do get back into the matchup. 3-2 is how it stands. And moving in, let's talk about Wind and Rain and their attacks. We've seen how slow they can be. It has always been something that has really heavily affected Wind and Rain. It's just the time constraint. And not just the time constraint either, is I've looked at some of the stuff that, you know, I've watched back, I've seen the stuff that Wind and Rain play. Whenever they lose the first blood, whenever one of their attackers die, it's just standstill. They just freeze, they don't know what to do, they panic. And if that's going to be a recurring thing, a recurring theme for Wind and Rain, that's scary. That's very terrifying.
Yeah, totally agree. It's interesting that you say that. It's something that I've actually got written down in my notes about Wind and Rain. Lose first or second man and stutter and just lose focus. So yeah, absolutely correct there. And unfortunately for them, it's something that's quite common for them. They seem to be quite prone to getting peaked. They seem to be quite prone to getting hit on the run out, particularly in the first 15-20 seconds, and losing important operators. So I think if we start seeing that again, this is going to run away from them very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, we will have to see as finally we will be back into the match. 3-2 is how it stands, and this will be the first bit of defensive work for Vex, and they will be opting for the downstairs defense, and a bit of a similar setup than what we've seen from Wind and Rain. They're going to be bringing Echo, Maestro and Vigil as well, but Ella, a new operator, into the batch.
Yeah, Feral on the Ela there. Ela we did see in the last match, but we haven't seen as of yet. We did see a Vigil on the defending side originally for Wind and Rain, so I'd imagine the Ela here of Feral going to be fulfilling a similar role, which is just going to be hassling them on the roam game. Roam game, as we've said already, a little bit more important and more frequently used on this downstairs garage site. You want to just, you've got the whole 2 floors above you, just to keep yourself an absolute nuisance, keep harrying them on the flanks, there's plenty of rotations around. I'd be interested to see what weapon Feral has brought on the Ela. We've already talked about the rotation capacity of that shotgun, so if he's got that and he can start opening up some rotations upstairs, he can make himself an absolute nuisance, just nipping at those flanks constantly and just keeping Wind and Rain guessing. And I think that is, you know, potentially how Vexed are gonna win this attack. Sorry, defense.
I really hope it's FL12. Honestly, every time he's let me down. Feral, he has let me down. I will have to run him up for that and say, why weren't you using FL12? Any answer he gives me is just a pathetic excuse that Feral will try and weasel his way into. He thinks because he's part of G2 he's all that, but he's really just the analyst. That's all he is. He's nothing special.
I think we'll see how special G2 are come the LAN finals, where I'm sure they'll be putting up fantastic performances as they always do. But we see an early quick push here. We've got Sledge of Theo moving very quickly into admin, and they are looking almost certainly to get on the roam clear and get things cleared out as quickly as they can. So we've also got Sloth moving in on the Ash. No wonder with the gun skill that he's already shown us this game that he's coming in looking for early frags, but at the moment they are not going to be challenged too heavily on the top floor. We can see the outline of, if I'm not mistaken, was Feral in bathroom. Yes, we see from the point of view that it was. So Feral's going to be downstairs in bathroom, just waiting for that mid-floor push. It looks like they've given them top floor at this point, but not always a bad strategy, because look at what's happened. Whether that's maybe a lack of effective droning or not, I don't know, but we're down to 1 minute 40 and Wind and Rain are still on the top floor, which has been given to them.
But then again, that's not really where the players of Vex want to try and put their resources into. They more want to play in around that bathroom area, try and deny that mid floor as much as they can, because that is the more important floor for the attacking team. They want to try and get Sledge in. Yeah, oh, whoa. Pat picks up the kill onto Feral as he tries to rotate through the hatch. So a bit of a misstep there by Feral. He could have stayed up there for just a little bit longer, in my opinion. Dearly, however, refrags onto Sloth with the angle through the hatch. Another player comes to take his position as well, so definitely a lot more spread out from Vexed. But Wind and Rain, they have lost that first man as well from them, so we'll see if they can potentially, finally, win a good attacking round for them.
See what happens now as the Blackbeard moves down, and he's just going to play near that Archives location. A little bit late on taking out that cam. I can't help but think he's definitely been spotted out on that. But if he can start to do some work from the pipes side, I don't think he knows that he's got somebody on his left just moving through from Archives. And there, Doki-san will move in and get the kill with a headshot onto Speeds, and that could be very, very important in terms of this Vex defense. It just takes away that shielded attack from the rear side and also allows them now to take a breath and just prepare. But Zach will leave himself exposed. I'm thinking that might be what that ping was about, but he's just taken himself onto yellow stairs and out of the line of sight from pipes. And now Doki-san will challenge again, this time head on, and he will take Theo out. So that's 2 defenses of that rear area from Doki-san, a 3rd kill from him, but he will be down by Melons on the Hibana. But Melons has it all to do here and will run out of time. Impactless kills towards the end there from Melons. Did everything he could do, but I think at that point Wind and Rain's attack had already folded like a cheap set of cards.
Is this supposed to be another game that you're trying to reference I play? With cards, huh? Don't get me started about cards.
I wouldn't possibly like to comment, Demo.
Oh, I love cards. But it has to be, you know, World of Warcraft themed cards if I'm playing some of them.
Absolutely. Moving through into round number 7 then, we have Vexed coming ahead 4-2, and as we've said, Wind and Rain struggling on attack so far this season, so we could well see this running away from them very, very quickly. I think if Vexed get this round and put themselves in the position of a match point and also a guaranteed draw as a minimum, Wind and Rain are really going to struggle to come back from that. Would you agree, Demo?
Yeah, just no way. If Vex take this round and they go 5-2, Vex never lose that unless they completely throw, which I don't expect Vex doing. They definitely want to contend for LAN. I know, speaking to Doki personally and even Feral, sure, Feral, he's been to LANs as an analyst, but really those two players haven't been to a LAN. None of these players have been to a LAN to actually compete and play in for, and that's something that they really want to go for. And of course, always LAN events, great bit of fun, great bit of banter, especially within the UK community. Really fun time. So, and of course, LAN ticket details will be on their way, guys. I know there's plenty of people sitting, waiting for those LAN tickets to be available. Just wait a little bit longer, guys. Wait a little bit longer, and certainly the information will be out as soon as it is ready. But that's still a very far distance away. As we shouldn't even be thinking about the LAN event. That's near Christmas time. We haven't even got through Halloween yet.
Absolutely, and it looks like we're going to have a rush towards yellow stairs. Pat just busting that in, Sloth working in with him, going to find an early challenge, but what a shot onto Jesus from Pat. That was an absolutely beautiful headshot, taking no prisoners whatsoever and moving in with the first kill just to get Wind and Rain moving. But will it be enough to give them the momentum that they're going to need to start pushing this piano and lobby site? Pat just getting himself wedged in there behind that vending machine, and we can see he's got a jackal track just 3 meters away, so he's got a player very close just above him on the yellow stairs area. We can see Sloth now already trying to move in through bathroom to deal with that. He's going to get his drones out. Doc is going to be able to just pop those Hibana charges off the wall and prevent at least too much of a breach. I don't know if one maybe still managed to sneak through and go off, but we're also going to have somebody now moving up to the roof to start rotating.
So Wind and Rain, they do have the setup. They did not lose their first man. Instead, they did get the first one for themselves. Speed still on the Blackbeard, a big menacing threat nonetheless. Doki, however, gets one kill back on the side of Vexed as Theo. He will drop, so Sledge off the board, Neve's off the board more importantly, and Doki can still start his reign of terror all over again. And somehow Feral's still alive on yellow stairs. I don't know why this man is not dead yet. That's a very crucial location that these players of Wind and Rain need to eliminate. Zach with the MP5 does eliminate Melons on the Hibana, but straight away Sloth with a refrag, and however he will not get double kills. Doki, he will be there. Another kill for the Doc. Let's not call him Doki-san, let's call him Doki-san from now on.
Love it. So Doki-san indeed will move through and put a challenge onto Blackbeard just outside the bathroom. He's just going to head glitch that bomb, and he took 25 damage off Speeds there, but it won't be quite enough just to stop the Blackbeard in his tracks yet. But 2 versus 3, Wind and Rain have got it all to do. They do have some utility in the form of the Candelas, and they will start to go in now, but you've got to remember that will also impact on his own team. Speeds tries to move in, killed by Feral. Doki-san picking up the final kill onto Pat there, and I think that Candela might just have been a bit poorly timed. I thought it was Blackbeard potentially trying to push the bomb and just challenge Doki-san there, but then had to quickly dip away as he saw the Candela coming in from ahead of him, and it just meant he was going to be flashed and blinded, forced him back into piano, and then it was pretty easy for Feral to move down yellow stairs. But I think that probably hits the nail on the head and pinpoints exactly why Vexed were almost allowed to be successful there. Is Feral played on those yellow stairs for about 2 minutes and 45 seconds without even really being directly challenged or moved off them, and it just allowed him that late flank to finish things off.
Yeah, that time for Wind and Rain, they had, the first pick, they had everything going for them, and all of a sudden they just started to clump up. They all just started to congregate around that yellow stairs area. And really from there, because you still had roamers scattered about upstairs and downstairs, then it was very easy for Doki to simply rotate in using that MP5 ACOG. And like we said, that roaming Doc, we did mention that last matchup, that has been very appropriately used by Doki and certainly doing the business for his team. And Vex, they do nick themselves a point at least, but I'm sure they are set to take home all 3 points as Wind and Rain, their attacks, just like we said, so lackluster.
Yeah, very similar to the first match. We've seen VEXED come out and take 4 rounds in a row now, but I honestly cannot see us getting to a stage where Wind and Rain manage to repeat the feat of M&M and bring it back to a draw. I would be very surprised indeed. We are seeing very, very similar lineups to what we've already been seeing, if not identical. We've got Doki just switching from that roaming dock over onto the Vigil this time, so he might just have to revert back to Doki on this round. But we're going to see a top floor hold this time, and the setup largely as we would expect. We've got a smoke in play for Dealey as well, and they're going to barricade off the top of spiral stairs, so I think that suggests maybe not too heavy a roam game. I would definitely expect to see Doki down on the lower 2 levels, but other than that I think we'll see the other 4 of VEXED remaining top floor, just holding angles, as you can see 2 in admin doing here, challenging windows already and just making it very, very difficult for Wind and Rain to even get in the building, let alone to pick up this final round. Nothing overly special needed from VEXED here, just a bit of patience and some nice long angles.
What's your kind of take on the way that Wind and Rain have been using this utility? Sure, they have plenty of it, but they haven't executed with it as well as they should. They should be having speeds in one of these windows, hunting for an Echo Drone, which they should know is alive, and what a peek from Feral. Eliminates Feo on the window, so that admin control will still be in the firm hands of VEXED, and really Wind and Rain, they've lost their main fragger, and this is where things start to get scary, and another kill for VEXED as Zach finds the back of Melons and puts him down. He falls off the rappel, and Pat, the last one remaining on that east window.
Yeah, VEXED playing exactly as suggested, just holding those angles. You know, ultimately, they're just going to sit there all day. Oh, Feral just gets a little bit greedy on the Jaeger there. Absolutely no need to peek after he gets tracked by the Jackal. You can definitely presume that eyes are going to be on you at that point. All he had to do was hold himself tight in that corner. The fact that he was actually being tracked and, you know, being told to the enemy that he was there was going to be enough to move them out. But that being said, it is all academic as Doki and Zach move in with the final 2 kills, and that will be the match. 6-2 in favour of VEXED.
Yeah, no real surprise on those attacks for Wind and Rain, just nothing working for them. This is the exact same issues. This is why they've lost their games, is simply down to their attacks. Sure, inside of Coastline, whenever they did play against Secret, which was their best performance in terms of round count, that was literally only on the defense that they performed well on, and as soon as they go on the attack, it just crumbles. That's basically the story for Wind and Rain, is that they cannot attack.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Demo. I didn't get a chance to answer the question, but you're asking me about Wind and Rain's use of gadgets and resource on the attack, and I think that's exactly the problem that we've seen there. I have to wonder, are they just taking operators that they like?
They're just taking it for the sake of
just taking. Yeah, no they maybe like the gun, so they take them, but they're just not putting those gadgets to thorough enough use. I mean, look at it, in the round where Feral was allowed to play on the lobby hole, he was allowed to stay on yellow stairs for 2.5 minutes. He was Jackal tracked. He was Jackal tracked in the first 15-20 seconds. They had a Ying on the bottom, yeah, and they just did nothing with it. They knew exactly where he was. As you say, Candela up yellow stairs, get aggressive, play into that space, and take him off there. As they didn't, it was then an easy pick for Feral to just wait, move down, get Blackbeard, whilst Ying was cleaned up on the other side by Doki.
So Wind and Rain, you know, their defensive rounds were good, but some of them, you know, questionable plays, I would say. Pat, he tried his best with some of those clutches, but really, like we said, you know, I would say on those kind of defensives that they have been left in those kind of 1v5, 2v5 situations very, very heavily. But just VEXED doing what VEXED do best, and that's really playing that aggressive and that nature play style where nobody else plays. It's very run and gun. There's no strategy to it. They just play as if it's right.
Yep, Dorcas on the fly-in, Scotsman coming out top of the leaderboard again with 8 frags this time, considering that was only over 8 rounds. You know, that's a fair outing, I'd have said. I think there was a couple of rounds where he didn't manage to pick any up, but other than that, very, very good players. I often say in Siege, there's 5 kills out there, there's 1 for each man. If you're doing your bit in every round, then, you know, that's all you can ask for, really. If you can get more, as Dorky was doing, it just frees up those support players to get in and use that utility, which is something that Wind and Rain was certainly